How to begin a center out motif in knitting. This can also be the beginning of a top-down hat. We need yarn, needles of appropriate size for the yarn, and one stitch marker to mark the beginning of round. To begin, we will take the yarn tail in our left hand, wrap it around our hand and cross over the tail like this. Take our needles, one of our double pointed needle, and draw that yarn through the working yarn through that loop that we created with our hands. Now once I open this up, this is what we have done so far. This is the beginning of the first stitch. This is not the first stitch yet because we need to secure it. In order to do that, we tighten this loop that we had taken up initially a little, yarn over with the needle and pull the previous loop over the needle over the new yarn over, and that is our first stitch. That's our first stitch. Now in order to do the next stitch, we have to repeat, and we are going to draw up a loop through this circle center loop that we had created initially. You will repeat this for as many stitches as are required to begin your motif. I'm going to start with 7 stitches, so I need 6 more. Needle inside the circle loop, draw up a strand, yarn over once and pull that strand over the yarn over. That's my second stitch. That's my third stitch. Fourth stitch. Fifth stitch. Sixth stitch, and that's my last 7th stitch. So now that we have all these stitches, we will tighten the center loop a little by pulling the tail, not all the way, but just a little. And now we are going to distribute our stitches to other double pointed needles to begin working in the round. So we take one and we slip out 2 stitches. We take another one and we slip out 2 more stitches, or let's say 3 more stitches. So that's how the beginning of the circle looks right now. Here is the working strand coming from this stitch. Now we turn that around a bit to begin our knitting by joining the circle to work in the round. So we've completely turned it around. If you need, you can tighten your center loop a little more. I've tightened it all the way through. And to begin working in the round, I will first put a marker to mark the beginning of round, and we have to start working like this. So put my needle through the first stitch, yarn over, take my working yarn, leave the tail alone, take my working yarn and knit one stitch. That will secure the stitch marker onto my double pointed needle, and I can start knitting with the other needles. Now I turn this around, take my fourth needle and knit one stitch from this needle and one more stitch from this third needle to balance the stitches around the needles. And to complete the round, I'm going to knit the remainder 2 stitches. So the beginning might be a little fiddly, but it makes for a very neat center. And we keep doing that all the way around to complete the round. So once we reach the beginning of the marker again, the round is complete, and in order to secure the marker in place, we are going to knit one more stitch and that's it. So if we spread out the needles as they want to be spread out, you will see the beginning of the center, and it's quite neat. Once we have more substantial fabric, once we keep increasing and knit around, we will have a neat center. We can pull this strand even tighter, make the center neater, and once the final project is done, you can secure this yarn by weaving in the tail. And that's how we begin the crown. Thank you. Hi again. So I wanted to show you the fabric that you will see once you are done a few increased rounds for the center out motif. And here I have completed about 3 increased rounds and 3 plain knitting rounds. And this is how you see the center. It's quite clean and neat. The tail has been pulled taut, so the center is closed completely. And all I need to do is, once I've finished my work, I go into the reverse and just weave it in on this fabric. And here I am knitting with DP ends, and I'm just starting another round for my work. And that's how your work should look after a while.